What's going on, guys? So on today's video, this is going to be a much more instructional video for those who want to get into e-commerce and want to sell not just on one platform, but two or even three other platforms. See, the focus of this video is going to be reducing the amount of risk you take on, getting into the e-commerce landscape, and also expanding upon what you can actually build and create. E-commerce isn't just one platform. And if you only focus on one platform, you're risking your entire business getting shut down. So this video is gonna really intensely dive deep into how to build and create using our system, how to build your store on eBay and Amazon. And this is gonna be an in-depth dive on how we would operate and how I expect everybody to operate going into 2026. This is exactly what you need to be doing if you're thinking about reselling online. So I appreciate you guys if you're watching right now, and let's go ahead and get into this video.
Yeah, we're pretty much just gonna be running through the system. Whoever joins, joins. Whoever doesn't. It's okay. I'll still be going through. I'll be doing these meetings as well. I would say probably twice a week, if not 3 times a week. But yeah, we're gonna try to do these meetings probably about once or twice a week, and it's really just going over specifically the system, the new things that we've added as well in this system. So that's really what we're going to be focused on right now, is going through the system real quick, how it works, and we'll go over each one. I have slides already pulled up for you guys. That way we can go through it and so it can make sense. Hold on, I'm admitting some more people real quick. I don't want to go on. There's some people joining. Let's see. All right, should be good right now. Yeah, I think I'll lock the meeting in 60 seconds. I'll give it about 60 seconds and I'm just going to lock everyone out. And then anybody who wants to watch will be on my Instagram live. So this is one of those trainings where I'm just doing it on IG live too. Give some, what's it called? Some gems out there as well on IG live. But anyways, so what we're going to go over today are the 3 platforms. We're going to talk about, number one, the main changes and the shifts and focuses that we've been leaning more towards going into 2026, just based off not only our own community standards, but talking to a lot of other communities. I'm in cahoots with a lot of course creators, people that are, even above me in this industry and selling, courses or even doing the business Amazon or do wholesale specifically. Some do only arbitrage too. So I've been able to get some of the word around about what implementations are working the best for most people. And even testing some of it out myself. And what the main changes we're going to make is, number one, focusing strategically on more so the risk side of things, of course. See, a lot of people didn't know in 2025, a lot of products were getting cracked down on by brands. This didn't even just happen in our own community. This happened across thousands of different people's accounts, different communities. Almost every program was impacted by it. So with that, we've had to also adjust, right? We've also had to adjust to those major changes in the market conditions, and a lot of it is more so gearing towards still Amazon, of course, but everybody moving forward with Amazon. This is, again, across every platform and community I've talked to and leaders in this industry as well. Everybody is having to make huge major changes with the way they approach the startup phase of selling on Amazon, because it's been getting a lot stricter on the wholesale side. So what we've decided and what we feel like is the best implementation to really just go through the launch phase, make some money in this business within 30 days using a system, though. A lot of the times people try to do things on their own. They try to maybe figure it out or do the product research to keep us stuff by themselves, don't want to hire. But I really believe this business model is we're even being stricter on what type of clients we take on, by the way, this year. But really people who have the capital to invest into actual systems, to delegate work, to hire virtual assistants. Not that you don't have the capital, it's fairly affordable. We're going to talk about it too, the prices and what you can look at spending a week, but versus the amount of work you'll be able to get done for you, which can lead to results and even faster results. And this is something that I've implemented too. When I first started selling on Amazon, I went the VA route pretty quickly because I realized it was very time consuming. And even with having suppliers and things of that nature, it still gets time consuming because you still have to find the right product and you still have to put in the time and effort to do that. And sometimes even the risk, especially when, now we know there are certain types of products you don't want to buy that can pose a high risk. And there's also ways now you can prevent, not even now, but these are just extra precautions we want to enforce on everybody. That way, nobody can buy products and kind of go down and lose money. You want to be able to buy something that's safe. You want to be able to buy something that everybody's shopping online for. Nothing crazy, no crazy categories, which is another thing too. Going into the new year, you really just want to focus on everyday general products, everyday merchandise, just everyday useful products, uh, in groceries too, and things of that nature. So we're gonna go over a specific way we feel like has worked the best for just plenty other communities as well. But also when I first got into this, we're actually going back to my roots of how I really built out my first store, which is utilizing virtual assistants for one. We're going to talk a lot about that today, by the way. Like virtual assistants is probably going to be the entire training, but it's going to serve a purpose because you're going to save a lot of time. You're going to get actual work done and be able to produce results. Find your own suppliers, by the way. Find your own unique suppliers where listings aren't saturated, where there's not 100 sellers using one supplier, and then one product gets oversaturated, and then the brand starts kicking people off and then leaving like everybody else on still. Like stuff like that's been happening recently. Whenever you see products see like a random influctuation of sellers, it can lead to that sometimes. So this is our best way of doing it. Virtual, and we're going to go over each step, but we're going to go over the points too real quick. We're going to be using Keepa for this though. So if you're going to use a virtual assistant, you're going to want to pay for the Keepa subscription and give your virtual assistant, and we'll talk about where to get the virtual, like we'll get very into the details. But you're gonna want them to utilize your Keepa product finder. So make sure, again, you use a password that you don't use for your other businesses or your other logins and things of that nature. Because if again, we're gonna like vet every single virtual assistant, but obviously be precautious, like what type of password. You don't use a password that you use every day or log into your bank with that you're gonna give to a stranger. You're gonna want like a regular password. So just make something like compatible that you don't mind handing over to your virtual assistant. You have to trust them with your account because they have to use your systems too. A lot of these virtual assistants, they don't have their own softwares. They're just used to taking on jobs from other sellers and using their software. So you just got to be like prepared for that, giving them that information. And a lot of them communicate through WhatsApp, so you'll be able to. And we'll talk about systems too and how to track that, using something called Notion. There's a lot we're going to talk about today, but we'll get to each one. So Keepa, of course, because we're going to use Product Finder. That's how, and this is how I feel like every seller should start off, right? Regardless if you're going to delegate all the work or not, I feel like you should still do a brand/category search on your own. Not even on your own. You can have a virtual assistant do it, by the way. But like understanding all the categories on Keepa Product Finder. And I made an entire video, by the way. If you're in my community, you can go to Discord. You can go to Amazon trainings. Every single video is me explaining and going over that method in depth. I think it's like 3 hours worth of information. So that being said, Keepa Product Finder identifies winning brands and products. So when you go through that video, you're going to see all the steps inside of there of like how to set up your Keepa Product Finder, categories, like which categories to use and things of that nature. But we'll get into some of the details. I'll show you real quick. So for the VAs, again, they're going to be conducting brand and category research inside Keepa Product Finder. They're going to filter the brands by 10 unit ungating requirements. We've seen a lot of this happen, right? Where you look at brands and it's 300 units, it's 100 units. Well, just think of it this way. You don't have to spend your time left and right going through 100, 300 brand unit products when a virtual assistant can just dig through all that for you and then just highlight and land the ones that only require 10. And that's them adding all the categories that are popular on the Keep a Product Finder search whenever they're going through the filters, which is pretty much like, I think there's like 7 to 8 categories. So you easily have access to, without the filters, just the categories, probably 20 million products. But once you start adding the categories and then like filtering things down, you'll probably end up with like maybe 5,000, 6,000 products to go through, all potentially different brands too. And then as you sort through that list, and again, the virtual assistant would be doing this for you. Again, the videos are in the Discord, so that's why I'm not going like doing it in depth right now. I'm kind of just covering it like a presentation because those videos are solid, and it's like, again, 3 hours worth of them in detail with one-on-one clients. So like I'm actually going even more depth, as you can understand how I go whenever I do one-on-one trainings with people. So you'll want to watch that, because those are the videos that are going to be based off the trainings with the virtual assistants. Now, if you're in my community, because I am on Instagram Live, if you're in my community, you basically get me to train your virtual assistants. So you still have to pay for your virtual assistants, of course. They're like $5 to $7 an hour, but I get to at least train them for you, so you don't have to put your time and effort in as beginners, right? How am I going to train a virtual assistant? I just started, you know? So I'll be the one training your virtual assistants, telling them what to do, and we'll have individual group chats on WhatsApp. But what I recommend on your end, right? This is what I recommend on your end. I'm going to show you right now. It's called Notion. You can create your own type of Notion thing too. You can create your own system, but this is what I use for like my personal agency, right? But you can do this with your virtual assistant. You can create a task center. You can assign it to your virtual assistant. You can call your virtual assistant John, right? The department sales, obviously, because they're the ones that are in charge of finding winning products to buy. They pretty much are the sales department. You give them a due date so you can really start tracking the tasks that you need them to get done. So like I can make an example. Let me pretend this is like my virtual assistant setup right here. And this is free, by the way. Notion is free. So you can set this up for free and just track your virtual assistant's task and prioritize it, categorize it, status started, not started, in progress, in progress. This is just my way of organizing my SOPs, what needs to be done on a daily basis. And I feel like anybody doing this business, if they can just start like really installing these sort of systems into their own daily routine with their virtual assistant, they'll be able to get a lot done. Like you can assign them for 10 hours, make them go 5 hours. Let's just say, for instance, right? I want you to do Walmart to Amazon flips 10 unit ungateable using winning product criterias. And so their task would be to go on Walmart and dig through as many products possible. And I would obviously train them on like specifically what they should be doing too, like within Walmart, like where to put their focus on, how to navigate it. So I'll be the one training the virtual assistant. You don't honestly have to tell them anything besides, this is what I need done. John, explain. That's it. John, explain. And then the virtual assistant will get the task done. This is just how I know to grow the fastest in this business personally, is to delegate the work to other people, because we understand how hectic or how time consuming really doing this the right way consists of. When I first started this, you guys have to understand, I was like 21 years old, living with my parents. I had all the time in the world. I spent 12 hours a day doing product research and just scaling my own store. I had all the time in the freaking world to do that, you know? But the thing is, I got tired of product research. Like I literally like burnt myself out, because I'd find myself in the office till 3 a.m. making good money on Amazon, doing everything myself, but I burnt myself out. So that's when I realized I needed a virtual assistant. You know, that's kind of how it is at the end of the day. So for your virtual assistant though, this is what they're going to be doing. We're going to be really focusing on pumping out online arbitrage leads. That's why I said one of the tasks could be Walmart to Amazon flips. I was going to say Walmart to eBay flips, because that's also very popular as well. We'll talk about that in a bit once we get to the eBay part, because I did do some product research this week with one of my clients on a call, and we randomly found a Stranger Things product on Walmart locally though. Online, it was going for way more, but if you were lucky enough to have them in stock locally near you, it was like $13.99. On eBay, it's going for like 45 to 60, 70. So, yeah, and that's just my experience, right? But I've always known Walmart to also be an arbitrage, not Walmart, my bad. eBay to be an arbitrage platform as well. I know a lot of people that liquidate products on eBay, but everyday merchandise, like not just like liquidate things that aren't selling, but they're buying liquidation pallets, right? They're going, and we'll talk again, we're going to get to the eBay part and we're going to go over the liquidation companies and all that. But eBay has less restrictions. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to get ungated in anything. You can honestly purchase liquidated inventory, overstock, return items, sell them on eBay for more because the price you're getting them at liquidation is very low, and profit. And again, we'll get into the eBay part in a bit. I'm going on a little bit of a rant right now. But back to the VA thing. Let me go back to the VA to the let's do this real quick. All right. So not only will they do that though, but they will follow the 10 unit ungating requirement. So if you're someone, like I said earlier, you're having trouble finding those 10 units, just make them go through the trouble and go through the hours, right? Because I bet you they're going to put more hours in than you possibly. I mean, if you hire them for 12 hours, they have to put in 12 hours. So if you're not putting in 12 hours a day, I guess, but the thing is, you don't need to hire them every day. It just depends on the output that they bring you based on the type of research you need them to do. Man, excuse me, need some water. Anyways, it's just based off the results you get from them. Like if you feel like, okay, maybe I do need them for an extra 10 hours, you put in 20 hours, pay them $5 to $7 an hour. You're looking at $5 an hour times, I wish I had my calculator on me. I can't even do math right now. 5, 10 hours, 50, 20 hours would be 100. Still not bad because for 20 hours, I mean, the amount of product depends on your capital. But if you have like, $1,000 set aside to invest in a products, I really wouldn't care. I would pay them $100 to find me just 10 solid items, even if they find me 30, but only 10 of them end up being like specifically what I'm looking for or what I want based off profit, margins, sales volume, things of that nature. Those 10 products, you buy a decent amount of those, you spend 2-3 grand. You can turn that into something off $100 decision. Like that's the way I'm viewing it. Like you're delegating work at a low rate, but you also have to trust the fact that I'm training them, I'm showing them exactly what they need to do, what they need to get done, and they're getting that done for you. And the other thing too that I'm making sure is I'm not giving you guys the same VAs. I'm not going to give you guys the same VAs. Trust me, you do not want a VA that's literally overloaded with work. That's the worst thing ever. They're going to start getting lazy and taking Sarah's results and then giving them to Drew. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure Drew doesn't want Sarah's scraps. You know what I mean? Like that's not cool. So like that's why every person should have a fresh VA that's on no offer. There's VAs out there that they have experience, right? They have previous offers they've worked on. They just moved on from them. So we can pick those people up and give them to you and train them and make sure that you get the work done and make sure that they're not on multiple offers so they're not mixing results or pretending to do work. Like you can't really see what they're doing. We have no way of like monitoring them unless we have a camera on them 24/7. So that's why I make sure they don't work with other people. Let's see. Oh, I locked the meeting. Yeah, my bad. I locked the meeting. Let me. Yeah, my bad. I had the meeting locked, Ashley. Everybody's on mute, but I had the meeting locked. I forgot to announce that I was locking the meeting at a certain time. But I do want to let you in. So I just saw you there. Just let you in. But anyways, to kind of go back to what we were just talking about with again the virtual assistant conducting that research for you, that's going to be the best investment of your life. That's personally how I started. Again, going back to my roots, I know I started transitioning things over to wholesale, but the thing was, there wasn't any sort of risk involved with working with wholesalers, regardless if they were authorized or not. Nobody was getting kicked off listings. Like, this is just sort of like what everybody was doing. And so, us following what everyone's doing and what we've done ourselves and what's worked for us, we obviously started to notice Amazon got a lot stricter. So this is why we're implementing the online arbitrage route because, and I didn't explain why, by the way. So I had a really good conversation with another community, another Amazon reseller. He's pretty big. And what he was telling me is that he's been getting the best results from online arbitrage automation in a sense like VA OA. And he said a lot of those products, and I understand this as well. It was just more so some people just stuck to a certain method and others didn't. Like myself, I kind of like branched out as well and changed. I always talked about OA, but I always liked the idea of wholesale and bulk buying. But now understanding that there's risk involved to everything too, even with OA. But we've noticed there was less account restrictions with OA, less account bans with OA, less products getting removed with OA. And some of the reasons being is their everyday merchandise. That was one of the big main ones that I got from that seller and that we were kind of discussing was that a lot of those products were everyday products. They weren't anything crazy or out of the ordinary. That's number one, right? Just making sure you're carrying everyday useful products that are in the house that are people using all the time. And again, big name brand, of course, too. We're not talking like building your own brand. We're talking big name brand products still. But sourcing that online arbitrage wise, he was still able to provide receipts. Amazon, even if they ever asked you, the receipts still worked for providing evidence because they came from a distributor apparently, and that's what worked for him if he ever got hit with one with an IP complaint. That's the other thing too, is a lot of people weren't using intellectual property complaint softwares. Like they weren't checking their products for IP alerts. Or the other thing is you can look and there's no history of it, but if a certain product just sees like an influx amount of sellers on it, it could trigger something where the brand may want to look into who's on this product. There was 10 last month, now there's 40, right? And then they might just literally eliminate 30 people. If they wanted to do that, they could, or they could make those 30 people provide authenticity. And that's where, again, authorized wholesale, so only authorized invoice. And we're literally going to get to that in a sec, by the way. But that's where the authorized wholesale invoices have to come into play. And the VA is going to come into play into this part too. They're going to build your approved brand shortlist. So for a lot of beginners, you need your VA to use Keepa to do the brand search for you that only require 10 units that fall under all the winning product criterias that we usually talk about. That's in the video in our Discord if you go to the Amazon training section. It's like 4 videos all going over this. But based off that work that they do, they're also, before you decide to ungate, they're going to then do a brand product search on all those products. So they're going to pull from, let's just say, 10 categories, all these winning close to probably 5,000 items. They're going to then pull the right ones that match 10 units for you. This also means giving your VAs user permission. You can give them like an email invite access type of thing within your user permissions, and then your virtual assistant can then just like have like virtual access and stuff like that to only what you allow them to do, of course. But they'll then be able to double check your account because a lot of people's accounts are different. Some people that are in my program have been in here for like over a year or two. They have certain brands that are probably gated for certain accounts. So like, it's good for your virtual assistant to still go through the brands and see if it's fully restricted or it's just gated and it requires 10 units, 100 units, 300 units. We can still have them save, let's just say 100 units, but we would prioritize the 10 unit fines. We would 100% prioritize that. Um, and that's just because like we're just, again, we want to focus on the brands that are going to be easier to ungate first. And if 10 units, honestly, 10 units won't be hard to ungate, especially if we go through an authorized wholesaler or retail, like authorized retail store too. Because again, Target invoices still work. I was just talking to a new seller. She signed up, not with me, but she's just like a person on Instagram that like DMs me all the time. She started her store like a week ago or two. She used a Target invoice to ungate a brand. And also other clients in my program, but then we have other people in the program that use Target invoices and it didn't work. I would just say with that, you want to take Target 50/50, or you just want to keep like literally reapplying for that brand like 10 times till they accept you. Like I would literally gas that out until it works. And have other brands too, by the way. I don't want to get too deep into it because we're going to get deeper in the next slide. But like still have like 3, 4 other brands that are 10 units that we're able to ungate through either an authorized wholesaler or an authorized retail site that we know works for ungating brands. And we've, again, have other sellers recently getting them submitted through it. But yeah, just have like 3, 4 other brands on the side that you're also working on ungating. So you're not just focused on one. That's the biggest thing. Like the VA can do all the work. They can find the brand for you. They can find the one that only requires 10 units. But I mean, they could ungate for you technically if you wanted them to. They would just need access to like your email, like I don't know, or you would just have to transfer certain data to them for them to just do the submissions for you. Whether it's like taking pictures, like hey, these are the 10 products here. I took pictures of all of them here, VA in WhatsApp. Send them all the images in WhatsApp, right? And if they have WhatsApp on their computer, they can then download those images. And if they have access to your seller account, they could apply for requesting approvals. So you could honestly, you could part of those hours that you hire them for, you could be having them like actually doing the task of ungating. I typically just handle it myself, but if you really want to go that far, technically you could do that. You could have the VA also apply to ungate for you, as long as you're making they could even make the purchase for you by all means. But then you'd have to trust them with your card number. But then this is the other thing, like obviously everybody knows about privacy.com, right? Type like a yes in the chat if you know about privacy.com. Type a no in the chat if you don't. But this is basically what you would do if you don't want your VA to know your credit card information, but you can just give them like a dupe credit card. Gotcha. Yeah. So privacy.com, you can basically connect it to your bank account and generate a new card that's like not related to your regular card number. So your virtual assistant can have this fake card, which they can still use the bot, but you would be approving, you'd know the purchase. This is just a more trusted way of like giving your card information to a virtual assistant from the Philippines. And also like having them use it to buy stuff for you if you want to delegate them that deep into the task, then you can have them use like a virtual card is what they call it. Yeah, it's called privacy.com. I'll just pull it up real quick because this is gonna be probably longer training than I thought, which is fine. I'm just like should have prepared for that. This is it right here. Yeah, privacy.com, virtual cards. Minimize the amount of personally identifiable information you share with places you buy at. Historically, virtual cards provide banks. Yeah, I mean, it's also a way to protect your information when shopping online too. It's also another way. But it's also one way I've kind of like done myself to just I don't know, just give it off to someone and I know that they're using that card and I can literally shut it off whenever I want without shutting my bank or having to change my actual debit card if anything, right? I could just shut off the privacy card. That's if anything, because God forbid, but we know how this thing works. You never know what the hell is going to happen. Come on. I'm not going to say, obviously, we're going to make sure, we build trust within our virtual assistants. I lean towards, by the way, women, by the way. That's just me. I trust them a little bit more on when it comes to servicing online and becoming like assistants and virtual assistants. I don't know. That's just me. I'm not sexist, but you'll notice that all my virtual assistants are women. They just seem more trustworthy. That's just me. They seem more trustworthy, so less aggressive, and they're good at listening instead of like doing their own thing, their own tasks. Every guy that I've hired, they kind of just had an ego. It was crazy. From any country, they just did things their own way and wouldn't listen to like the errors I needed them to fix. I'd be like, hey, I need you to like do product research this way, not your own way. And he would still do it his own way. And I knew he would do it his own way because the results he found me were under my criterias. Like I'm like, dude, this isn't even closely remotely match what I told you to do for the type of products I want you to add to this like spreadsheet. So definitely I'll be like making sure these virtual assistants, they're good. Um, but the thing is, you always got to hire people and just work with them and figure out if they're for you or not. You can just always drop them and get a new one and then train them. And that's also another reality too. You may have one virtual assistant working for you for a good 30 to 60 days. Then for some reason you feel like they're not as consistent as much. Maybe you don't replace them. Maybe you add another virtual assistant, or maybe you just completely again replace them with someone else for doing something else that you need. Maybe you need someone that's more wholesale dominant now. Like, okay, you're good at online arbitrage, but you don't really have the skill set or experience for wholesale. You can, I would do that personally. I wouldn't trust a OA VA to like do a lot of the wholesale tasks. Like if you want them reaching out, sending emails, they may not have that in their skill set bucket, you know, versus someone who's just strictly like Keepa, seller amp, product research, online arbitrage, finding leads. That's a way different type of virtual assistant than someone that knows how to use an Excel. Like not even no, someone who knows how to send emails, has done marketing, has done data entry, anything like higher level in my opinion. Um, phone calls if they have sales experiences. You could be looking for different VAs. It just depends on what you need done. For wholesale though, you definitely want someone that can call suppliers for you, which we need to get back to the I'm yapping. Let me get back to the presentation so we can get through this. So we can actually get to the wholesale part. But yeah, meeting is locked. I'm just saying, meeting is locked. If anyone's trying to get in, you can go on Instagram Live and watch. Instagram Live. So let's get to the next. I can go on for days about the VA thing is the thing, but you guys are my clients, so you can always book one-on-one meetings with me. We can like dive deeper and actually set it up together. That's the other thing too I want to talk about. You can always book a call after this, and we can do a whole VA setup. I can get you in the WhatsApp with her. We can get her on a task and get her rolling, and she only gets paid after the work's done and reviewed and done, and then she gets paid. So easier and better on you guys. So this is the criteria, I guess, that we would give the virtual assistant, which you guys some of you are familiar with on Kiva Product Finder. Again, the video is in the Discord. But minimum price offer $12, minimum offer count 5, minimum buy box winner. Mad important. Your VA needs to know how to do this. Just go into Kiva Product Finder and add buy box winner count 5 minimum. That means 5 minimum people are winning the buy box. And that's also helping us with risk factors, right? The more people that are actually sharing sales and getting the buy box and sharing the buy box. Also checking for IP complaints I need to add that on here actually. We do need to check for IP complaints. But this is the Keepa search, my bad. IP complaints would just be setting up IP alerts, which is a software. If you guys don't know actually, let me talk about it real quick. We're going to go through this like for 60 seconds, then we'll get back to that. But I do need to show the website to get it on. It's called like Seller Assistant. So if you sign up for this, let me go to the main page. It's a subscription, yes. But the way I look at it, you saw what happened to some sellers in our community that got intellectual property complaints. Some of them got removed from their Amazon accounts. We've had some people get kicked off their Amazon accounts. So IP alerts, again, is just one of the only few ways to potentially avoid intellectual property risk. That's different. When you get an IP complaint is different than getting kicked off a listing or something. That's way different. Way different. Getting kicked off a listing just means they didn't want you there. You didn't get banned or anything, then you didn't get banned. Now there is getting kicked off a listing. There's inauthenticity complaints. So this is what IP alerts, by the way, checks for authenticity complaints. Because what happens is for certain brands that are higher risk, by the way, that one product, we're not going to say their name or even say the product, but some of you that are in here know. But it was a medical device, and that brand was reaching out to sellers and also removing them. But the thing is, those are one of the very few times where you don't see history of complaints. You don't see anything at all, because we had some clients check no alerts, where then it became a problem. And I think it was because the distributors, like this is where we're going to get to. Actually, we need to get back to the I'm getting off task, but we're going to get to the wholesale part that we're going to talk about. But what I'm going to say in the next slide is going to be talking more so about finding your own unique suppliers versus everyone going out to the same supplier. can definitely saturate a listing and cause a trigger warning to a brand and kick everyone off. I think I said that earlier, but I forgot. But that's the thing. So we're going to talk about how you all can use a VA to just find your own distributors for each brand, by the way, because everyone may have a different result when they do their searches. Some people might add their ranking to 250K. Some people might do minimum price offer $9. Everyone's going to have different results. And everyone may focus on a different brand based on the research they get done and the brands they focus on ungating and who gets, today you might get ungated in this brand and there's a whole other brand you haven't even heard of yet that someone else gets ungated in tomorrow because they did their own research. You guys aren't focused on the same brand. But then that also allows you to then find your own distributors for that brand. By the way, not all brands are distributor friendly. Some of them only work with large retail stores. That's it. So that's another thing too, like in digging in before, you decide this is the brand I want to go after. We're going to talk about it in the next slide though, but I think it's a great way for you not to create saturation on a listing, potential IP risk, and also just have your own private supplier. Not everybody has to go from the same supplier, especially not on Amazon. Not on Amazon. I think that has to be something that's not normalized anymore. I think it shouldn't be normalized. Everyone should not get the same supplier. I don't believe I have shifted my way of thinking about approaching this whole business model because I've been doing it since 2019. I've seen it change multiple times, but now I've seen it get to a point where you got to be very like strict. Like you can't no longer just want it easy. You got to also like kind of like fall within the rules too instead of wanting it too easy. Like play the system. Okay, cool. You want me to use authorized suppliers? Cool. I'm gonna have a VA find them for me. You know, like that's it. They're going to drive your business. Like I don't know how else to put it. I really don't know how else. Like I don't know how someone's gonna scale a business with how busy life is. I really don't, unless they're using a virtual assistant. So that's like, that's important. Gotta have a virtual assistant. Finding products isn't like this is a full-time job. Finding winning products on a daily basis is a full-time job. It's the same amount of effort of trying to find, I don't know, real estate property to lock in contracts on and then find buyers to wholesale the property to. Like, I would say the same amount of effort, except you can get more instant results with this, of course. But still. So let me go next. This is like the Keepa. Again, the video is in my Discord. If you're on here, video is in my Discord. Let me plug in my laptop real quick. You have a whole video in the Amazon live or like Amazon training video section inside the Discord. I go in depth on the Keepa product finder search, but your virtual assistant would do that search. You wouldn't do that search yourself. It'd be your virtual assistant. So that's the other thing too. And I would train your virtual assistant. I'd make sure that they can do the work the right way and what needs to get done. But that's just how I look at it because this is a multi six-figure business. You can make $20, $30, $40,000 a month. But think about it. That's not a lot of money. You could spend $1,000 a month on a VA. Think about it. If you really, really invested into them, you knew, okay, over a month, I'll spend maybe $1,000 on a VA, but they're going to find me $20,000, $30,000 worth of revenue. You have to look at it for what it is and not be afraid to even make them work every day if you need to. Just find me products every day. I don't even care if I don't even buy 50% of those lists. Whatever I buy, I'm going to put I'm going to put a lot of my eggs into it. And I'm just going to go in and send them to a prep center. And the prep center is just going to fulfill all the orders for me now. Don't send your products into Amazon if you don't want to risk anything either. Like if you really want to be like risk free, just use a prep center. If anything happens to your products, they can just send them right back to you. Amazon, they might hold on to them. Let me see. Now we're going to get into the wholesale aspect of things now. This is if you really find a good brand through the first thing, which is the brand category research. When you have your virtual assistant do that first task, and then they find you winning products through online arbitrage, then consider getting a wholesale supplier for that brand. Once you've actually gotten proven sales from online arbitrage, then consider wholesale. And I say that as a beginner. Once you're an expert and you're getting sales, who cares if you've made OA sales on it or not? You can just, if you like a brand, you want to source it wholesale wise, and we're able to do that, or you're able to do that, then awesome. Like, do it. Get your virtual assistant on it. More for you, it's, and more for you and less for others, because maybe not everybody found that brand you just found. And now you're finding a wholesale supplier. And what if you actually do find one? What if your virtual assistant does the work for you, spends the time, finds a supplier, you happen to have a few $1,000s saved up maybe, and you only had to pay them a few $100 to do that research. Now you found a good supplier, you can buy products, sell it on eBay or Amazon, spend a few grand, and now you're in business. Now you're actually like getting sales and like momentum and making the, 4 or 5,000 your first month maybe. If that's like the first goal, of course, before you hit 10. But that's how I would be doing this. This is exactly how I'd be doing it. I wouldn't be doing it any other way if I'm going to approach the Amazon route. I'd be following this system exactly. Exactly. Like, I wouldn't do anything different from this at all. This is the system that's going to work. So, yeah, and if anybody got kicked off here, I don't know what happened. We just got back on, but if you're on the IG live, you can stay on there. But yeah, I wouldn't do it any other way. Like I was saying to the chat here in the Zoom, wouldn't do it any other way. This is the quickest way you're gonna get off your feet in this business. The quickest way you'll have a 30-day launch. So that VA is going to really crush it for you. You have to really trust them. You got to put in the hours. You have to understand, if you have a few $1,000s set aside, if you can afford $500 to $1,000 a month in VAs, knowing they're going to find you $10,000, $20,000 worth of revenue on the internet, they're going to just find it. They're going to find the products. They're going to do what you tell them to do. They're going to be specific with the roles. You don't have to do all the work anymore. Like, everybody also has to remember, when I first started this, I was like 19, 20 years old, living with my parents. I had all the time in the world to be my own virtual assistant. I was spending 12 hours a day digging through websites. Like, that was my reality of this business model. And then I decided to like get a virtual assistant. So that's why we're going back to these roots. Also, just understanding a lot of other communities, they're having more and better, I would say, luck in a sense, right? They're not getting hit with anything. Everything's working out on the online arbitrage side. If we're going to do wholesale, again, we're going to talk about it again right here. For wholesale, we need to conduct wholesale supplier research after brand discovery. I talked about this earlier with some people, but you need to have your own unique list of suppliers so you don't create saturation on listings. That's like super important. So like, conduct your own, have your virtual assistant do brand research. And if they conduct that brand research for you and then they find you winning products through online arbitrage, you can actually get sales through them. You get ungated and you get sales. Then get a wholesale supplier. If you don't want to take on a lot of risk. This is like me trying to tell people to do this the least riskiest way. This is like minimizing risk, dropping the risk, making it go down.